Hi everyone. Hey, I've got some good news for you. Remember when the pop news media threw fits upon discovering that Donald Trump was pulling out of the Paris Climate Accord last year? How dare we rough and tumble Americans not see the threat of climate change and hamstring our own economy with massive taxes on the use of energy? Well, it turns out that last year saw yet another year of lower CO2 emissions from the American economy, even as the economy grew.
I was elected to represent the citizens of Pittsburgh, not Paris.
But the mayor of Pittsburgh isn't on board, tweeting, "I can assure you that we will follow the guidelines of the Paris Agreement." In a joint statement, Italy, France, and Germany sharply criticized President Trump.
Oh yeah, that Paris Climate Accord, an accord that is not a treaty, an accord that is based on faulty and manipulated science, and an accord that is a backdoor towards a worldwide tax on the use of energy. Well, when Donald Trump decided that the United States government was going to pull out of that, a lot of the left-wingers really exploded.
This thing could backfire in an economic way that I'm not sure anybody's really thought through.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, they might be exploding again because it turns out that Donald Trump might have seen something coming. New information from the U.S. Energy Information Administration shows that while the productive output of the U.S. rose over the last year, the amount of carbon the economy released into the atmosphere actually decreased. Indeed, as Michael Bastas writes for the Daily Caller, quote, "The EIA's latest energy report shows U.S. carbon dioxide emissions are the lowest they've been since 1992, and that per capita emissions are the lowest since 1950. After rising for decades, it's declined in recent years to 15.8 metric tons per person in 2017, the lowest measured levels in 67 years. Hey, Europe, how do? Well, it looks like Europe does not do as well as the United States. For, the reporter continues, in the last year, U.S. emissions fell more than 0.5%, while European emissions rose 1.5%. Now, why would U.S. carbon emissions decline even as gross domestic product increased? It's almost as if there's a natural facet to free markets, some crazy thing, an incentive that actually propels people to try to decrease waste and economize. It's almost like they're trying to reduce costs and use less energy and human effort to produce more for less. In fact, Bastak notes, one long-term trend is the natural decline in emissions per unit of economic output, or GDP. EIA data shows the ratio has declined from 1,091 metric tons of CO2 emissions per unit of GDP in 1950 to 301 metric tons in 2017. And that is fantastic news, but it just makes sense because this is the type of thing that markets always do. And of course, this information is offered without even addressing the claim that CO2 emissions on Earth will produce the same sort of thing as CO2 on Venus and trap all sorts of hot air.
With your permission, show just a few new pictures that illustrate the basics of the problem.
Oh, we'd be delighted. Thank you.
And the carbon quantity is identical. The difference is that on Earth, most of the carbon has been sequestered in the soil, pulled out of the atmosphere by the miracle of life.
The hot air seems to be coming from the politicians and the people who have been shown to have manipulated data in the climate scare exchange. Perhaps we can exchange some information with all of those folks if they will listen. And perhaps we can get them off our backs trying to hamper the U.S. economy. Because if the U.S. economy and the U.S. consumers are left to function on their own, they have incentives to use less and less energy to get more and more for their lives. Economics 101. It's a great thing. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for MRC TV. I'm Gardner Goldsmith.